This episode is being brought to you by Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Alaska Realty. Whether you're investing in residential, buying or selling commercial properties anywhere in the state of Alaska, we're here to assist. To reach us, you can contact me at lottie@lottiemichael.com or my cell phone, 907-242-7603. And for comments or questions about residential properties, reach out to Connie Yoshimura at 907-229-2703, 229-2703. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Connie Yoshimura, and this is the Alaska Real Estate Podcast with myself and Lottie Michael, who's out viewing a commercial property today. But I have a very special guest with me, Tamara Garner, and we are going to talk about sight unseen, buying a property, a buyer buying a property that they have never seen the property. So, Tamara, welcome.
Thank you.
And we had this conversation just a couple of weeks ago. You know, we have an indemnification agreement here at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services that indemnifies us with both buyers and sellers with a sight unseen transaction. But you have overcome all of the conditions regarding sight unseen. And so I'm very impressed by what you were able to successfully do. So tell me about the transaction. Where did your buyer come from? What is it that you did in order to close a sight unseen transaction?
Perfect. Well, Connie, thank you so much for having me today on the podcast. The sight unseen, we do have a big military presence in Alaska, so you're constantly getting military moving in and out. And so this particular couple was military. They were moving here from Omaha, Nebraska, and it was a referral through the Berkshire Hathaway referral network. So I got a call. The gentleman, it was actually his cousin. He was referring to me through the Berkshire network. And I said, yes, I would love to take it on. Knowing your client, even though you've never met them before, you don't know their style, doing your research. I looked up their past addresses to see, what their style was, what they've lived in before, what they were used to. Because it's the same thing, when you meet your client and you walk through a couple houses with them, you kind of get a feeling for what they like, what they don't like. It's even more challenging with sight unseen because you've never met the people before. So every time I went into a house, I would do a video walkthrough, and I would let the agent who was listing it know I was doing a video walkthrough because, we don't know if people want you in their house recording things. So that's something you need to get permission for. And I would do a video walkthrough every time and explain the neighborhoods, what they were like, the trails that were close by, knowing your client, do they have pets? Do they like to be outside? Do they want a walking neighborhood? These are all things you have to keep in mind and quickly pick up on with sight unseen because you are their eyes. They are trusting you fully with the process. And so it can be a bit daunting, but knowing your client, asking all the questions, doing your own research through Google, looking up their past houses, asking them plenty of questions, and don't leave out anything. All the nitty-gritty things you have to tell them, especially the home inspection. Be there, walk through the whole house, do videos, show them every crack, every spot, because you don't want it to come back on you.
That's a lot of work. How many houses did you video show them?
Probably 20 houses.
20 houses.
And we did make offers on a few that we missed out on because the market it's hot right now, especially in that price range, $400,000 to $600,000.
Well, that's one of the other things that I wanted to talk to you about. How were you able to succeed in getting an offer accepted when there are multiple offers for properties in that $400,000 to $600,000 price range?
Basically, you have to be looking at the market every day. You want to be the first person in that property to see it and put your interest in, and communicating with the listing licensees is really key as well, because I feel if you communicate really well, they're going to want to choose you just because of your communication skills, because they know that you're going to make that transaction move smoothly when you're good at communicating.
With all the technology available today and showing time, I find frequently as a listing licensee, people are showing my property and they've never asked anything about the property whatsoever. So this idea of personal communication with the listing licensee when you are the selling licensee is very
a
important.
big difference. And with sight unseen, some sellers are nervous about accepting sight unseen from buyers. So you really have to communicate that my buyers are serious. We have been looking at houses. We have put in offers. We are ready to jump. And that's the thing with sight unseen. You have to make sure they are ready to jump. If we go into the property the first day, we're the second person to see it. We want to put that offer in quickly.
So you don't wait. What if the listing licensee says, we'll accept offers at 5 p.m.? Are you going to get your offer in first, or are you going to get your offer in last?
That is an interesting, and you don't know. And usually I talk to the clients and make them decide it. It's always up to the clients. It's good to give them option A, B, and C. So it doesn't fall back on you. Well, you told me to do this. No, I gave you option A, B, and C. I told you which option I would go with, but there's 3 options and you were the final chooser. So I do bring that up. Should we put our offer in sooner? Should we put it high? Usually I put an escalation clause in there and just say, how high are you willing to go? How much are you willing to lose this property that you like so much?
So how do you determine what your escalation clause is going to be?
How much they'd be willing to lose it for? How high are you willing to go to get this property? And we can put the escalation clause at, $1,000 over the highest up to a certain dollar amount. And that has worked out, and even just going higher,
so
for that property.
This, I'm assuming, is a VA loan.
It is a VA loan.
And is that a 000 down? Let's talk about the 000 down VA loan. And let's talk about the veterans entitlement process for how high they can go with 000 down and all that sort of thing.
This one I don't believe was that, because they've already have their entitlement in another property. So I think that they're allowed to go to a certain dollar amount where they can borrow up to that entitlement amount. So they have already have a VA loan on another property.
So was this conventional, or was this?
This was VA.
It was VA.
It was.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But with a down.
With a down.
Right. All right. So,
and the people moving out were also military. And so I think that made this sight unseen a little bit smoother as well, just knowing, hey, they're in the same situation you were in 4 years ago. They're moving up here. They need to buy sight unseen. They were very understanding.
Okay. So what are some of the other conditions that you have to deal with when you're dealing with sight unseen? You talked about that.
Inspection. I was there during the home inspection. I like to go to every home inspection that I can, because you learn so much from the home inspection. But I think, since you are their eyes and all their information comes from you, you need to be present at the home inspection, because little things pop up and then you can ask the questions when you're there, and you can call the client and say, well, the home inspector just told me this and that. Do you have any other questions? Well, I'm here with him. And you can really get their trust too, as well. They have to be able to trust you for sight unseen.
So what was it like to meet these people after you'd had all of this work with them and all that sort of thing?
Well, we definitely felt like friends after the whole process is done. Still after the closing was a few weeks ago, they're still texting me, videos of their dog and things like that in their new yard. So they're very happy. And the trust was there. So it was secured after they saw it. I was very happy. But I was nervous. It's, it wasn't a brand new construction. It wasn't a brand new build. So, there's things. The house is settled. There are cracks in the walls. There are things that, you need to be totally upfront with them about, so that it doesn't come back on you, that you left any details out. It has to be 100% their choice.
So did they fly up?
They drove up from Omaha.
And how did you meet them?
Met them at the title company.
See the house when they closed?
We signed.
Oh my gosh.
Recording was the very next day. So we went before recording to the final walkthrough, and everything was fine.
All right. So let's go back a minute. This is an amazing story. All right. So they drove up here and they went to the title company.
Yes.
Yes. And they closed all the documents for the house.
Yes.
But we all understand that nothing really happens until the recording. So after they signed all the documents,
yes,
you took them to the house.
We went straight to the house a few hours after, and then we walked through and I said, is everything good? We signed off on everything and we recorded the next day. But, if anything had happened, if there was a flood in there, I would have called title right away and said, put off the recording.
That is an amazing story, because most sight unseen buyers would not even sign the document.
And they were ready to sign and possibly not do a final walkthrough. And I said, no, I don't feel comfortable. We need to record after you guys walk through. That was for my own good feeling as well, to make them wait to actually see the house, because they were ready to sign and go through with the recording.
And
Same day recording. And I said,
they
no,
were
let's
willing
wait.
to have a same day recording
Right.
without ever seeing the house.
Yes.
They had to have a tremendous amount of faith and trust in you
They did.
for all the work that you'd done prior to that
Yes.
time. Right.
Yes, they were very good. They ended up buying an Eagle River, which I thought was perfect for them. They have a dog. They like to do trails. They're going to be on base working. So it just really worked out. But we looked in Anchorage. We looked in Eagle River, Chugiak, Thunderbird Falls.
We want to take a quick moment to thank Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Alaska Realty for supporting this episode. One of the things we appreciate about our team is that our agents do far more than open a door. We help clients understand neighborhoods, evaluate investment opportunities, navigate commercial leases, prepare homes for sale, and make smart long-term real estate decisions. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or a growing business looking for office space, or a national or international Fortune 500 company exploring opportunities in Alaska, we're here to facilitate and help you. Visit Berkshire Hathaway Home Services AlaskaRealty.com to connect with Lottie Michael at 907-242-7603 or Connie Yoshimura at 907-229-2703. I just find this to be an amazing story. I'm speechless that they closed. They didn't record, but they closed prior to even seeing the house.
Right.
That is just a tremendous compliment to you, really. And we certainly will give you any sight unseen buyer in the future, because I think it's very rare that any individual realtor could actually accomplish that.
It was they were a very nice couple. The next podcast, we'll have to do a VA loan assumption because I'm working on one of those right now. And
well, we have a little bit of time. Let's talk about a VA assumption. All right.
The process has been interesting. There is no lender, there's no originator, so you're not working directly with a person.
Who do you talk to?
I talk to the servicing department. So I have a number for them, and once you have the number, you keep it so you can directly call them, and the wait's not too long, but you've got to just constantly be checking up on it because no one's going to call you to check on anything. You know, it's in this kind of service processing internet land, and the people on the phone, they do have access to see the back end, to see kind of these green light, red light steps, so they can update you and tell you. But again, there's nobody. You've got to make all the phone calls. You have to stay on top of it.
All right, so how did you get the service number? Because I don't think that's probably probably not that easy to get the service number.
This one is through Global, but Global does not do the servicing for their VA loan assumptions.
Right.
They third party it out to a company named Senlar Processing. Senlar has not been that great, but Global also has a processing center, and they have all the access just like Senlar does. So for a while, I was calling Senlar, and that just ended up being a nightmare every single time. So I then reached out to Jeff Stanford, who did my seller's loan, the VA loan, to begin with.
Okay.
And he gave me the number for Global Servicing Department. So I've been calling them directly, and the wait's only 2 minutes, and they're very good about telling you what's going on.
So how long did this VA assumption process last?
We are still in the process.
From when?
It's been about 3 weeks now.
Okay.
And I think we're supposed to close the first week of July, and I think we're still on track. But again, I'm just calling them every 2 days to find out what the deal is.
Okay. So
the title is on board, so title knows what's going on as well.
How does a buyer qualify for a VA assumption?
So they either have to be a veteran where they have their own entitlement. This buyer does not have a VA entitlement. They are just a regular consumer, not a veteran, not part of the military. So what's going to happen is the VA sellers are losing their entitlement for the life of that loan until it's paid off. Thankfully for them, they're okay with losing that entitlement because they have double entitlement. So, you know, they're a couple, they both have it, they both can use it. So they said they're fine with it. Normally, most people are not fine with losing their entitlement. Fair enough. So normally it will be a VA to VA loan assumption in most of the cases. People are not going to want to lose that.
So, but I do think it's important to know that someone who is not a veteran all right, or active duty or otherwise,
A
a
loan,
loan.
yes.
Right. But the seller, that the originator of that loan,
Has to approve the
that.
buyer, yes.
And then they lose that right.
The seller will lose.
Well, however many points they have. I mean, they still may have 2 or 3.
But as soon as that loan's paid off, they get their entitlement back, the sellers, or if that guy sells the house in a few years,
so what
that goes with the loan once it's paid
what
off.
happens if in a few years that buyer sells the house?
Then they will get their entitlement back, the sellers.
Unless they could can they sell it again to?
Nope, they're not VA, so nobody can assume that loan again. So
only one time then can it be assumed.
Yes.
Non-VA with not with a non-active or veteran.
Exactly.
Okay,
Right.
only once.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So can a veteran or a seller carry back if, say, the buyer only wants to put $20,000 down, and so there's a gap in the equity? Can they do a second deed of trust? Can anyone do a second deed of trust?
No, not that I found. No,
Okay.
nobody's doing it. It's called a bridge loan to make up the gap of equity. That is not a thing that I have heard anybody doing in town.
Okay.
If I hear of it, I will let you know. But as far as I know, no one who's been interested in this VA loan could get a bridge loan gap. So the buyer is coming up with the equity difference.
How long had that house been on the market?
It'd been on the market quite a while.
Okay.
It's in a kind of like a little niche neighborhood. It's not really a walkable neighborhood, so it just didn't appeal to too many buyers, but it's a very nice, clean house. And military, again, they are moving out. So
Okay. All right. So you seem to have a very good relationship with the military. Are you related in some way to the
I am a
military?
big part of the veterans organizations, the Veteran of Foreign Wars, VFW, the AMVETS, the American Legion. Those are all places that I hang out, that I grew up going to. So I have a great deal of respect for the veterans, and I do volunteer my time helping them. And it has been a great source of business. Yes.
All right. And you are providing a service, an excellent service as well. So what do you think about the market, this middle range of the market?
It goes quickly. If you fix up your house and you make it move-in ready and clean it, and if it's very clean and people walk in and go, oh, it's clean in here, it's going to sell. I mean, it's still very much a seller's market. And in that price range, things go so quickly. And even like Connie had said in the past, the $1 million market is very good for resale right now as well.
You've said the adjective clean many, many times.
Clean.
And sellers are really curious about what it is that they should do to make their home market ready.
Hire a professional cleaner, organize, put everything away in the cupboards or in the storage shed. But, people always say, oh, I can clean my house. Hire the cleaner. It's going to be less than $1,000 and it will make a big difference.
Windows
are a big one. The baseboards, I clean it before the cleaners get there. And then it'll be even better.
Right, exactly. You clean, but a professional cleaner does something a little bit different. Yeah.
Right.
Because they know how, it would be good to hire a professional cleaner that also cleans new construction, right?
Yes.
Because they know how what all those important things
and I will say, if you get it cleaned ahead of time before the listing, you might get a higher bid or more people interested. And you know what? Even if you don't clean, there might be asking for a cleaner upon closing anyway, which is what I always put in as a clause, because you want it to be clean. And when people move out, things get messy, and honestly, empty houses look messier sometimes when people move out. So it's best to just clean it beforehand.
What other advice do you have for a seller?
Pre-home inspections are good. I think that they can be really good, especially for older homes. If you don't want to get scared later on, because the buyer will do a home inspection. I have seen it work with older homes. They get the inspection done. You fix the health, life, and safety that's on there. And most of the time, 90%, they will accept that inspection because they don't want to pay for another one. And then you've already gotten ahead of the game, and there are no surprises for you.
And I think what's also important for a seller is if there is a major repair that needs to be done, like a roof repair or a deck or something major, that if you wait until after you've listed the property and the home inspection comes in and says, we want this done, and the buyer wants this done, then that affects their bottom line. And it's better to know what that cost is going to be up front than it is to when we're, halfway through the transaction and suddenly the seller realizes that he's not going to get an additional $10,000 that he was planning on.
Right.
Yeah.
And roofs are a really big deal. A lot of insurance companies, if the roof is over 20 years old, they will not insure it. And I've come into that problem. And that is something that you need to tell buyers when they're looking at a roof, and tell them to call their insurance company, because it can be a big deal.
The roof.
State Farm is being very picky about roofs.
Even if the roof is in good condition?
Even if it's in good condition, they have been very weird about roofs 20 years and older. So just keep it in mind. It's good to call. I just recently am closing on a property, and their insurance company said the trees had to go 10 feet from the house. They had to go.
That's a fire-wise situation.
And so, yes, we did put in the repair addendum that we're going to get the trees out. You got to be able to insure the house after you buy it.
So let's just say you're representing a buyer and they want certain items. As the broker, I sign every transaction, every DF when the deal falls through.
Right.
And in 90% of them, it's the failure to be able to negotiate the home inspection requested repairs.
Right. Again, it's communication. That's the open line. Ask the listing realtor. Talk to the other realtor. Say, how can I make this better for us? Here's the things I need to get a quote for. Are they willing to fix it? Should I ask for a dollar amount off? Majority of the time, dollar amount off really does work. People don't want to fix anything.
Right.
Guess what? You got a quote. It's $4,800. We're going to ask for $5,000 in closing costs or off, and they can fix it. The buyers and the seller knows from the inspection why we're asking for it. Here's the quote that I got. It's reasonable. But that open line of communication, because a lot of times maybe they can cut down the trees themselves. Maybe the husband, that's his line of work, and he doesn't want to give you $5,000, but he'll take the trees down. Communicate with the other realtor. They'll let you know. They don't want the deal to fall apart either. Nobody does.
Well, I think that's really very interesting, because when I'm working in training and I talk to a new realtor, right, I say there's only one person that's interested in you getting a sale, and that's you. But after you are successful in getting that sale, there's the listing licensee, the selling licensee, the broker for each one of those, the title, right? Even to a certain extent, the home inspector, There's 5 or 6 people now that are vested in that transaction, one way or the other. The mortgage, the title.
Everybody
is invested. And so being able to have good communication with those people, right? Return phone calls promptly. And like you say, call every other day.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yep.
Open line of communication is so big. And when you work with realtors who have great communication, you remember that for the next time. And you go, wow, I really liked working with that person. Oh, I see they're a listing agent. Oh, I can't wait to call them. And, it just opens doors. And honestly, just having good repertoire with the other realtors will get you farther in business.
Yes, absolutely. I really enjoyed talking to you. I've learned something, right? I'm not going to be, as a broker and owner, I'm not going to be so afraid of sight unseen transactions, especially if you're doing them and you're willing to look for, at 20 houses. But I think my takeaway for this and for the other realtors and for buyers and sellers that are in the marketplace, it's all about communication. And I will tell you that online leads are sometimes not the best for communication, because it's difficult to establish that rapport.
Right.
So what you do, if you do have that opportunity, which is I'm sure what you did, you picked up the phone and started talking to them. So you have to talk to your buyers and sellers. You can't be a pest. And maybe you might get ghosted sometime, but the reality of the situation, it is in today's world, regardless of all the technology, it really is about personal communication. That's what you've said today.
It is. It is. And it goes really far.
So Tamara, I want to say thank you for joining us today for this podcast. And if someone's listening, how do they contact you?
They can contact me through the brokerage, Berkshire Hathaway. My number is 907-341-7022. That's it.
All right.
Call me.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. This is a little bit of an extra that we're going to do at the end of every podcast. We're going to interview one of our Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Alaska Realty, who's just completed a transaction. And so we're here today with Brittany Moses in her very, very nice office. I love your office. It looks really great.
Thank you.
How long have you been in real estate?
11 years.
11 years. So you know a lot, right?
I do.
Yeah. How did you end up, or how did you come to acquire this listing opportunity?
Yes, I had just closed on another multifamily property, and it was a difficult transaction, but very challenging, and it was wonderful experience actually. And so they referred me to a family member for another multifamily transaction, and I was not the first agent, so I came into an aging property that had already been on the MLS and got it sold.
So I'm wondering if because you have these multifamily opportunities, didn't you tell me at one point in time that you have an accounting background?
I do. Yes. Yes, I have an accounting background. It seems like another lifetime, but yes, I did accounting.
Okay. Well, and you graduated here at UAA?
I didn't fully graduate at UAA. I actually graduated at University of Phoenix. So I did a hybrid, so half UAA, half University of Phoenix.
Do you think having that accounting background helps you in real estate?
Definitely. It allows me to understand the numbers behind these transactions, and it really helps me in a lot of deals, actually.
What was the most difficult part of the transaction?
Gaining the seller's trust. And because they were very weary, and they didn't think that we were all on the same team. So coming to that and getting them to understand we're in this together. I'm here for you. I'm here for to make sure that everything works out in your favor and everyone walks away happy. And that's what we did.
All right. So is this the second or third or fourth or fifth multifamily property that you sold?
Yeah, it's probably the fifth, actually. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So tell us about fourplexes in today's market. There aren't any new fourplexes, are they? Most of them are older.
Most of them are older. Yeah, especially in Anchorage. You'll see them out in Wasilla, but in Anchorage, it's definitely an aging product.
So what are some of the challenges with an aging product like that?
Repairs, inspections. Mm-hmm. And a lot of things are coming up on those inspections that they're big ticket items.
Who pays for some of those issues, I guess? Does it usually come, that's the negotiating part, right?
That's definitely the negotiating part. Yeah.
What's your negotiating theory? Do you have a protocol that you follow? Do you have...
Not necessarily. It's more so picking and choosing the battle, right? You're either going with the cost up front or the seller doing the repair, coming down more so with credits so that the buyer can do their own repairs and everyone can be happy, because typically people have a different idea of how something should be repaired and the quality of work. So
it's better to put it on the buyer side.
Correct.
To give an allowance or a cost benefit or closing costs, and let the buyer do those repairs. Because then he's going to be satisfied with them. He's the one that's going to have selected the contractor to do the work. And so the liability then is really off of the seller.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. We've just had a very similar situation like that in an older resale property. But the question I think that is most important, do you recommend that a seller get a home inspection or a property inspection prior to putting the property on the market or after?
That depends on the property, but
Okay.
I think it's helpful if the seller is aware that there's items that could pop up and they're willing to get it done. But then it also can give this, if the seller's not going to do it, they can disclose it and then price it accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
that's where that helps.
All right. Well, that's Brittany Moses, and who sold 5 multifamily properties in the last couple of years.
Yes, for sure.
And what helps her a lot is her accounting background. So if you have a multifamily property that hasn't sold, right, You should call Brittany because she can get the job done. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. All right.
Thanks again to Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Alaska Realty for sponsoring this episode. If you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in the great state of Alaska, be sure to contact us. Connie Yoshimura at 907-229-273, or for commercial activity, Galati Michael, CCIM at 907-242-7603.